So slavery was God's mercy.
So apparently, my work is not done. Last week on Controversial Tuesday, I started talking to you all about how Christians have become, and I told you they were spiritual Nepo babies who'd become the NPCs of evil and empire, and they actually think they're in the right, and they don't even know what they're doing. And then this week, this juicy morsel pops across my screen. Kind of thing when you see it helps you to understand what I am saying when I tell you that Christians create, in many ways, the God that they've chosen to worship. And so this person who's suffering from a severe case of spiritual Stockholm syndrome, to the extent that they haven't even deconstructed, they don't even understand what they're saying. They just are showing you all day, every day, with each word that they keep saying, that they should not be your faith guru, coach, teacher, and whatnot. Like last week, I last week I made a statement, and I said, like, who introduces their, because this statement was made to me, and I've gone on the journey to try to teach it to others, which is who introduces their father, okay? Who introduces their father to someone else, and portrays them as being such a horrifically small, narcissistic, jealous entity that is so small brained, so incapable of sharing its wisdom and understanding about how to be and a more positive way to be, that person had to go, in order to show mercy, it had to go take one group of people from one country, have them flung all around the world, have them enslaved, beaten, raped, bred with their siblings and mothers and fathers, and that this was mercy. Because somehow the God that their torturers, the people who stole the people from Africa, that somehow that the God that their torturers was shoving down their throat, and then with a healthy dose of lie. We all know what the slaves were taught, and the slave Bible was created, and that God is so small brained, so without power, so uninventive, so incapable of teaching and persuading and leading the people of the continent of Africa, that God had to have those people maligned, all of the horrible things that we have come to know that was a part of the transatlantic slave trade, to the extent that I myself am English, Irish, Danish, Icelandic, Scandi, whole Viking, French, German, let's see, what else? What else? English, Irish, Scots. Do you understand? That's the non-African side. Oh, South Asian and other things, amongst other things. I always tell people I'm made of black magic, but that's an old video here on TikTok, but I digress. Back to my point. That God is so incapable, so unpersuasive, so unpowerful, that it had to torture, molest, it had to become evil itself in order to show mercy. Is this where Christians are at right at this point? I mean, it's taken me a minute just to calm down after watching that nonsense. Because, like I said the other day, you cannot repair the relationship between God and man, especially when the God does not exist in the human sense. And Christians in the end become worshipers of, I call it the void. I've started developing that term of art, the void. And in that void, they breathe in to that void their own breath of life, and they create the God, and they speak. And they go through this process of, many of them just deify themselves, and they're like, yeah, that's God. This makes me feel comfortable. That's who God is. And then you got twisted twisted logic over here that if you go back and watch that, you get nonsense like that in a post colonization, post empire kind of Christian. And I get that all Christians are not the same. And this is not me hating on Christians, but you call yourself the body of Christ. It means you were one connected group of people. And I'm going to have to make this statement to Christians. Hey, that kind of logic, that's the kind of logic in that video that should make you realize at some point the body of Christ is going to have to learn how to cut off the appendage that is offensive, that has this tendency to sin. Because that thought process that's in that video is so toxic. And just go read the comments. Read the comments, and if you can stomach it, and understand that when I say that Christians are spiritual nepo babies who have become the NPCs of empire and evil, like, that's a good example. That video is a good example. They call themselves coaches and experts, and they do more harm to traumatize people than good. And they can't even be trusted to come up with a version of whatever they're worshiping that's in any way healthy. Do you think it's healthy? Do you think that's a healthy thought? to say, even though Black people were traumatized, enslaved, abused, separated from their families, raped, forcibly bred, all things that we associate with evil. But that was God's mercy. Like, when I tell people that to not worship that colonizer Jesus, that white Jesus, because that's what she's worshiping, you're right to not worship it. And you should be running in any direction. Run away from love bombing Jesus too. Because I would think after thousands of years, countless opportunities for human beings to come up with like what they've decided to worship, that it would not be someone as perniciously evil. I mean, that person took the time to demonize the African in order to find justification for what happened, because in the end it was just mercy, because you would be stuck worshiping your ancestral deity or whatever, and all the assumptions that went into that horrible argument. But I just want y'all to go sit with that video, and I want you guys to internalize why the relationship between mankind and God can't be fixed. And you will always get, like, her Christianity failed her. I mean, she in order to form in order to be able to find it still acceptable to worship that God, she has to demonize the African. She has to do what people do with the Canaanites and etc., and see that the massacring in the end, the G-side, the harm, the carrying away of the women, all the things that Israel did was somehow justified. When all we know is that's what the Israelites said. Still saying mess like that to this day. But yeah, go back and enjoy that video.